Hello everyone and welcome back to Motion Recaps. In today's video we will narrate a horror thriller movie called The Hills Have Eyes 2. Watch out for spoilers. A woman is tied up and screaming. She gives birth to a deformed, mutant baby, but it is stillborn. A mutant takes the stillborn and becomes angry, killing the woman by hitting her on the head, screaming and dying. 2 years ago, a family drove into the hills, which are a military area known as Sector 16. Half of the family was slaughtered and the rest escaped. The military was brought in to search for mutants and kill them, and even electronic surveillance was installed. In a meeting room filled with dummies in military uniforms and chairs, Dr. Wilson radios Han about Camera 1 going dead. Han, the man in the meeting room, clicks a switch and asks Dr. Wilson to check. When he checks, he finds false readings from the area, and suddenly his data feed into the room is cut. Han goes to the main control room to check the junction box, where it short circuits and catches fire. He informs Dr. Wilson about the update, who tells him a backup one will come in an hour. Colonel Redding approaches Dr. Wilson and asks where Foster is, who tells him he is on top of the mountain installing surveillance equipment. Redding, angry about the scientists going alone without escorts, leaves the tent. Foster uses his radio to talk to the other scientist, but receives no reply from Han, who was attacked and killed, or Dr. Wilson. When Foster turns, he finds a mutant and is shocked, asking the mutant if he is lost. The mutant says Runawi, and suddenly, a mutant attacks Foster with an axe, killing him. Redding hears the echoes and calls out to Foster, but instead, he is stabbed by a spear and thrown off the cliff by a mutant. In Kandahar, an American military team is being attacked and they try to escape the attack. When one of the terrorists is attacking them and calling names, Crank, an American soldier, retaliates and starts shooting back, making a way for the other soldiers to follow him. One of them throws a grenade into a house which blows up the place, and a woman appears crying about how her babies were killed by the bomb. She is revealed to have bombs strapped to her, and it is revealed to be a military training exercise in the desert in New Mexico. Sergeant Jeffrey calls out the group on their unprofessional tactics and explains what each other did wrong. He chastises Amber for being a pacifist yet training to be a National Guardsman. He explains that they will have to go through training again, and while driving to the rifle range, have to stop at Sector 16 to supply the scientists with utilities. The group drive to the area in a truck, while they have some conversation with Crank becoming angry with one of the soldiers and threatening to kill him, but he is calmed down. They arrive at the camp and find it empty. 2 soldiers unload the crates of supplies while the rest search the camp for any survivors. The sergeant tells one of the soldiers to check the bunker where Han was killed and another to find some gas cans. When one of the soldiers, Napoleon, is going to use the portable toilet, the sergeant stops him and tells him to go behind a rock instead. The soldiers return to tell Sergeant that no gas cans are there and no other people are in the bunker. They find a smashed satellite phone and get a distress call on the radio asking for Han and Wilson. The sergeant replies and the man tells he needs help and is up the hill. They notice a signal mirror being used, with reflections falling on them, and the sergeant decides to search and rescue the man. When Napoleon asks him to contact headquarters instead, the sergeant tells him to guard the portable toilet and takes the other recruits to save the man. The sergeant assigns Amber, a female soldier, to keep contacting nearby military bases for a medical vehicle. While trekking up the mountain, a soldier named Mickey falls into a hole and reveals a deep cave. He is saved, but as his leg is injured, the sergeant tells him to go back to the main camp. Napoleon decides to use the portable toilet but instead finds a bloodied hand which scares him. He jumps and runs out of the portable toilet, which leads Amber to investigate. They find Dr. Wilson in the toilet, bloodied and stuffed in the toilet. They remove him from the toilet and clean him up, but he is severely injured. Dr. Wilson tells them that they're here, but when Amber asks him who they are, he dies. Meanwhile, the team is rock climbing to the place where they think the man was, and one of the female soldiers, Missy, is being watched. While trying to contact someone by the camp radio, Amber and Napoleon find their military truck set on fire and find their weapons have been stolen. Amber panics and decides to go up the hills to warn the others, but Napoleon decides to keep contacting the group by the camp radio. While Amber is climbing up, she calls out to Napoleon, who can see her from far. Suddenly, she is attacked by a mutant, and Napoleon rushes to rescue her. Before she can be killed, Mickey coming from the other side can injure him, and the mutant slithers back into a hole. When talking to each other from far, Mickey's leg is suddenly pulled by one of the mutants into a bolt hole. Napoleon arrives and tries to pull him out, with Amber trying to take a shot at it with his gun, but Mickey is completely pulled into the hole. The sergeant and his team reach the mountain and find Foster's dead body. They try to contact Amber, but don't receive an answer, but instead another radio call is heard with a man speaking unclearly. The sergeant decides to continue the search and rescue mission, with Missy voicing her reluctance, and they reach an area with a lot of shadowy spots. The team is attacked, with the sergeant getting accidentally shot by Spitter. Amber and Napoleon reach the team and try to tend to the sergeant's wounds, but he dies, with Spitter blaming himself for accidentally shooting him. They grieve his loss and come to know Mickey is also dead. The team decides to leave the hills and take the sergeant's body with them. Using a grappling gear, Spitter is attached to Sergeant's body and guided down the rocks by the other team members. When they gently lead him down, the rope is cut by the mutants and Spitter falls to his death. The team discovers that the remaining rope for the climb is missing and realizes the mutants are smart and manipulative. The team takes a narrow path down the hills, which is rockier but reaches a dead end. While retreating to another path, they find Colonel Redding, who is badly injured, and he warns them about the mutants. He tells them that they have been living in the mines, and one of the soldiers asks him how to escape, and Redding tells them they have to use the mines. He warns them that the men will get killed, but the women will be imprisoned and kept for breeding. He tries to shoot himself and he falls off the cliff, dying. The team takes a break and Missy and Amber have a conversation, where Missy talks about her son. A mutant sneaks up on them, but Napoleon and the rest of the team shoot him down, killing the mutant. When the group investigates the dead mutant, Missy goes away to attend to nature's call and is abducted by one of the mutants. The team realizes that Missy is missing and goes into the caves in search of her. They see her being dragged off by a mutant and scared. Stump decides to climb down without ropes as he can and leave the rest to get help. The group tells him not to go alone and stick together, but he refuses and leaves to climb the rocks without ropes, promising to get help. The remaining group goes into the mines and search for Missy, but reach a dead end. They find Missy's phone and reach a metal tube, in which all of them go deeper into the mines. Stump reaches the rocks to climb, but finds himself followed by mutants, which scares him. While climbing down by hand, Stump reaches a hole, and while reaching down, his arm is cut off by a mutant and he falls to his death. While going deeper into the mines and coming across a water-filled one, Amber and Napoleon pulled into the water, leading them to a different mine from Delmer and Crank. They get separated, with Amber and Napoleon in a mine with lamps in it, and Crank and Delmer continuing on their original path. Crank and Delmer come across a rift and jump to the other side, hoping to get on the level that Amber and Napoleon are. They make it and continue on the way. Missy is brought to an area with several old televisions and is raped by the mutant leader's son, but she kicks him and tries to escape. The mutant leader enters and kicks the son out and rapes Missy. The mutant that killed Stump throws his cut hand at Amber and Napoleon takes shots at him. When his ammo runs out, the mutant attacks Amber, but Napoleon hits him on the head with a rock repeatedly, killing him. Napoleon and Amber hear a mutant approaching them with their gun. They hide and see the mutant with glasses sniffing around and searching for something. They fall into another rocky area and are saved by a mutant who calls himself Hansel. Crank and Delmer come across the dead mutant's body and shoot down the mutant with glasses. Delmer gets injured when the glasses mutant shoots back and discovers they ran out of ammo. They meet up with Amber and Napoleon where Hansel offers to show them the way out of the hills through the mines. While following Hansel, Crank questions the mutants' intention and they reach the main area of the mutants' living quarters. Finding Mickey's body pieces in the area, Crank becomes angry and starts questioning Hansel's intent again, screaming. Delmer tries to calm him down but he dies. Crank sees that Delmer was shot twice and they didn't treat the wound in time and take him with them. Hansel leads them out of the main area and to a mine that has a blast door leading to the exit. Crank tries to open it but as he cannot, begins to lose his mind and shout about how Missy is dead and they will die too. Crank sees a wooden fence-covered hole to the outside and begins to break it, but Amber leaves with Napoleon in tow, eager to rescue Missy. Hansel becomes afraid of Crank's breaking of the fence, telling him not to touch it, but Crank continues. When Crank breaks the wooden fence, he discovers dynamite, and when he takes the box, a booby trap is triggered which blows him in the room up. Amber and Napoleon are shaken after the blast, but they hear Missy and continue to look for her. They reach the meeting room shown earlier where they are attacked by two mutants and stab them to death. They come across the mutant leader who is raping Missy, and Amber uses Missy's phone to play a recording to get him away from her. Amber and Napoleon succeed in rescuing Missy, but while leaving, the mutant leader arrives and hunts Missy, trying to kill her. Amber uses the last bullet she saved for herself to shoot the mutant leader in the head. While the leader chokes Amber, Napoleon stabs him with a spear and kills the leader. While leaving, Missy attacks the seemingly dead leader, but he catches Missy's foot and she proceeds to smash his loin area with a hammer, and Napoleon stabs him in the mouth, killing him completely. Amber and Napoleon take Missy with them, and it is mentioned that the disappearance of the National Guards and the sergeant was not explained to their families and how Sector 16 is still not acknowledged to exist by the government. Amber, Napoleon, and Missy make it out of the mines, and while they leave the area, it is shown that they are being watched through the heat sensor cameras installed at the beginning of the movie by a mutant. And that's it for today's movie. If you had a good time watching it, make sure to subscribe to our channel in order to see more interesting movie recaps.